They're not sharing their cameras.
Oh.
Oh, huh.
So Sandy, yours says web only. You should see an icon that looks like a purple flower. If you click on that, it'll take you to the desktop version, and there's a little bit more functionality. You're on a web browser right now. Same thing for you, Karen.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I still see Sylvia and Karen only.
Let me see. I don't see you share. It says you don't. I'm going to send you a webcam request.
Oh, share my web. Yeah, do I click on that? Share my webcam.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
You go.
Hello. Good evening.
Penny, you have a quorum.
No. They had me go to this, and now.
Yeah. This is Karen, and now I can see. Now I can see. Unmute. Okay. Okay.
I see you and Sylvia still, Karen, and nobody else.
I see Karen, you have your hand up, Karen?
No. Okay.
I'll take it down. And then Penny has herself self-muted.
Did you hear about one? Excited? Yeah, I'm really excited. Yo, what a noob, he's so bad. He's so bad. Yeah, Mario were like, wow, you're almost a goal.
Okay. See if you can hear now.
I can't hear anything. I'm not there.
Hi, Penny.
Hi,
Hi.
Penny. Hi, Penny.
Now?
Hi, Penny.
Hi,
Oh,
everybody.
there's Sean.
Good, good. Okay. Very good. I have no idea. I was on, I could see myself, but I could not see anybody else. So we just went out and started back up again. So, okay. We are now down, call to order, 6:05, citizen comments. There were none. Number 3 is approval of minutes from June 3rd, 10th, and 22nd. Everybody had received them earlier today.
Hey,
So,
Penny.
yes.
Penny, I wanted to make make a comment and put something out, and whenever it um, whenever it's appropriate, let me know.
Okay. Is it a comment about one of the topics we're going to talk about tonight, or what? I'm sorry.
Um, Perhaps, but it's anyway. I think it's something. I think it's something that that I've thought about that the committee might want to recommend, at least in time to get some, and it may be too late to even get into the budget discussion for the year. So anyway.
Okay, well, we are actually having to go down through, and number 6 is reviewing the general and hot funds budgets, and it's not making any changes because we already on June 22nd approved them, but we have to go back through, and what I did was to elaborate on them and met with Wanda and Phil and Sylvia and the mayor, and she asked us to rank them. So at that point, how about we'll go into the discussion, okay? Does that sound fair? Okay, thank you. Okay, I need a motion, and we can do it separately or we can do it all in one unit to approve the minutes. Did everyone have opportunity to read them? Okay, do you need to take a moment to read them? Because we do need to approve these. Okay, let's take a moment, look at the June 3rd minutes. That was from 6 p.m. Take a moment and read those.
Okay, if I click on June the 3rd, will I come back in here?
Sylvia, yes, you should. You should be, because these are Word document, correct, Sylvia?
They're PDFs.
PDF, okay.
It, all 3 minutes are together in one PDF document. And if you want to make it easy, you could just right click and click open new tab so that you can get back to the agenda.
Okay, Karen or Sandy, I'm sorry. You get that? Right click and open a
Okay,
new tab.
okay.
Okay, take a moment and read all 3 if you've got them in front of you already, and that way then we can move forward once we approve the minutes. I read through them and Matt and I talked a bit, so did not see any corrections or changes that we needed to make, but I'd like the committee to also have insight. There you go. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I do ask that you take note on the 22nd. These are the minutes from that meeting. And number 8, we discussed hot funds requests and reviewed them item by item. And then we had a motion, a second, and a pass for the CED general funds things and CED hot funds budget request for 2021. So that's kind of fills in that little blank. Okay, do I have a motion that we accept And we can accept all three of them together unless somebody has any corrections or additions.
Hey, Sue, could you turn that down, love?
I move we accept the meetings.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the minutes from the 3rd, the 10th, and the 22nd. A second, please.
I'll second.
Okay,
Sandy.
a second by Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. Any comments? Okay, let's move for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Thank you, everybody. Okay, number 4 is the city church council. Boy, I'm sorry. City council liaison report. Phil, anything special you want to say, or just jump in whenever? I know Phil's here. I heard him. Sylvia, Phil is on, correct?
Hello?
Oh, sorry,
Phil?
I was muted. Yes, he's on with the hot mic.
Okay. Phil, is there anything that you wish to share with the committee?
Oh, no, thank you. Actually, for some reason, I got kicked off on on the audio. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. No, I actually don't have any comments tonight because I think you folks have a lot ahead of you tonight in terms of decisions you have to make. And so rather than me take up time, I encourage you to discuss the items at hand here, make some decisions so we can take it forward. So I have no comments, and I'd like to turn it over to you folks because I think your time is very important tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Okay. Number 5, update on the banners from the city administrator. Sylvia, you want to give us a report, please?
I do. So we've gotten a approval from City Council on location of the banners, which is Home Depot Boulevard within the village. And we needed to have a discussion after any available banners from Market Fair, then we could use them on Ernest Robles. The village, Cindy, we've gone back and forth on the location of the banners. They're finally good to go. And now I'm just waiting to see what available staff I have. Hopefully this weekend, we're going to get those up.
Okay.
I have not heard from Market Fair despite, I don't know, 4 or 5 attempts already, both text, email, and cell phone. I just haven't heard. I don't know what's going on with Steve.
Yeah. Now he was due to have a board meeting sometime this month, correct?
Yes, and that was a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. So maybe we need to make a visit. Is he good with having people come by and just drop in?
He's in the Houston office, I believe.
Oh, okay. A little harder. Okay.
Yeah, the other thing is Market Fair has a water line project going on right now, a pretty significant infrastructure project going on. So maybe that has played into his lack of response, but I will keep trying.
Okay. Yeah. Because we do want to get those out and be able to move forward on things. I have a couple of observations and some ideas that I'd like us to think about. We were not able to get approval for the poles that we wanted to have in the center area and a couple of other places that Sylvia and I had looked at and gone through and said these would be good for advertisements down the middle of Brody. And I know that right now we're in the COVID stuff, but we actually need to do a little bit of strategic planning. And this is something that's not to be short-sighted by saying we can't do them this year, but again, for next year, I think it's an imperative that we get that stuff moving. And so I want that to be on our agenda to bring that back up again, because down the middle of Brody is one of the best places. Everybody going up and down Brody would see them. And then number 2, I did a ride around the other night, or the other afternoon, I guess it was. And there are a number of the smaller banners that are in fairly decent shape still. They're actually good shape. and they don't match, they're not different that much, but why not take a thought and see if perhaps putting them on some of the roads that we do not have anything planned for or approved on. That's another way to be able to use what we already have and utilize those. And then also to say, this is a part of Sunset Valley. So again, food for thought for us as a committee in the future. Okay, anybody else have any comments? Okay, and those two items, Sylvia, if we could bring them up again, or Matt, at some point down the road, I would like to be able to address those again. Okay, thank you for your report, Sylvia. And that we move on then to 6, and review and ranking of the general and hot funds budget submitted for the year 2021. Okay, in this, I want to give you guys a little bit of insight as to what went on. And as we were going through this process in June, we all went through, and item by item, line by line, we went through this. And I had
Penny, we lost you.
we were asked to do, gold, the silver, and the bronze. And because of the COVID, we're led to believe that it would probably be mainly the bronze being approved. And what happened was I left in, and this is my bad because I thought it had to go on to next year's budget. But after the finance committee met and they said, oh, they have gotten $230,000 approved, we don't have to worry about any money for them. They just completely denied everything that we asked for. I immediately, the next morning, reached out to Wanda, who is on council and is the finance committee liaison with the council, and said, Wanda, what in the heck was going on? And she said, well, Penny, you had included an extra 100,000. They didn't understand. And in general, you did not define what was going on. And I said, well, I was supposed to be able to talk to them to do this. And she agreed that it should have been something we could have talked about, but it wasn't happening. And so she, Sylvia, Phil, and I met and then asked the mayor to come in with us on this. And we're working to say, okay, this is what we need. This is what I would have told the finance committee. And so if you look at the next page, well, you look at the page that's the front one that is up on your screen right now, and it does not have that $100,000 on that. That was money that was for marketing and use in the second part of that 230. So that was already approved and was taken out. So that's the big change from the budget that we reviewed in June and that went through the process into this new rendition that you see in front of you. Anybody have any questions on that so far? Nobody does. Okay, very good. Then, if you would with me, please, go look at the next sheet. And this is the report that I gave to the mayor. She had asked about the how, when, why, where, and who would be involved in all of these different pieces. And so basically, I started out by saying that CED has a two-part mission. Part of it is the economic growth and development of Sunset Valley and our businesses. And part two is to care for the citizens of Sunset Valley and our from the general funds, because they don't encourage or promote business and revenue coming into the city. So let's look first at the general funds stuff. And you know what? You all have copies of this, correct? And you can see it. I don't need to read it to you then. because this basically gave a little history. It gave how we were doing things, what we needed to do, and what we would spend the money on in this part of the budget. Under retired residents program, this is something, our population's getting older. We do need to have something to support them. And we have classes. I teach classes from Agency on Aging. Coming of Age has classes. Basically, the city acts as the host, and so that's a minimum amount. Okay, this was something that I've tried to work with Sasha on to get the Arts Commission involved as well here, and we're still working on that one. Any questions on that one? Now, and when we are done looking at these general funds, we're going to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things, okay? So I want you to be thinking about this as we're going through them. Then Spring Fling. This is something that we do every year. It's care for all of our citizens, and it's a time for socialization and getting together. We actually we've done it every year. Had budgeted last year $4,000, and we went over, so we upped it to $4,400 to be more on target. This, again, is something that we need to look at and rank. Social events for residents. Okay, as we look at this, I am a volunteer trainer, and we need to realize, we have people saying we need more volunteers, we need more volunteers, we need more volunteers. Well, let me assure you that if a volunteer feels appreciated, they're going to give you whatever you ask of them and help in any way they can. If they don't feel appreciated, they won't. They'll go find someplace else to volunteer their time and their energies. So what we thought about doing, and with the 3 different levels, a luncheon, a tea, a drop-by reception, just a way to tell people we appreciate them. Again, it's something that we need those volunteers to help us throughout the year in lots of different things. Next item is business-to-business support, and this is ongoing. This is very important. Developing a better relationship with the business and management community. And again, they are the folks that get the revenue that comes into our coffers that help us enjoy the lifestyle that we see here in Sunset Valley. We have had, I've seen a better improvement, and I've actually talked to several of the different folks that either have stores or work with the different management companies, and they're all willing to step out and help with this, but they need to have some direction, they need to have some meetings, and we have to listen to them. And so this is an important piece of what we want to do. Our marketing company is going to be important in this as well, but it is something that we need to be willing to spend a little bit of money on. Okay, and then the last item on this side of the budget is to say, begin purchasing lights for the trees in Sunset Valley. And one of the goals that you see on the second thing is, Christmas in the Valley. This is something that will take several years to get enough lights to be able to do, but I'm saying we need to start 1 year, and the second year buy some more lights, and the third year. And we're also looking with the Arts Commission to see if they're willing to put a few of their shekels together for us so that we can be able to join forces and make beautiful ways, so that as soon as people make that turn into Sunset Valley up by 290 and go all the way down to where you leave Sunset Valley, we're going to have lights on some of the trees. We're going to have banners out there. People are going to know that they're in Sunset Valley and that Sunset Valley is the place to shop. So as we look down the road, this is something, again, it's strategically planning for the future. Okay, any comments? And Roger, is there something in here that you wanted to talk about, or is this something that would be better with the contract?
It's probably, I'm not even sure this will fit, but let me just say that it's been something that's been kind of eating at me would be a program whereby the city, out of whatever funds available, allocate some number of dollars to the residents, to each household in Sunset Valley, which can be only used and redeemed at our retailers. So if it's $100 a household a year, but that money it can only be redeemed to at our merchants, and that allows the city to track the loyalty of our citizens and how their support and shows direct support for our merchants, and it nets out lower than the money allocated because we're going to get some of it back in sales tax.
And tax.
But that's a different kind of program
Yeah.
than what you're talking about. But I think it's something that is highly measurable. And I don't think I think if you allocated $100 a household, whatever number that is, it wouldn't all be spent there. And that would actually show you whether or not our residents are fully supporting our retail. And if they are, then it allows us to show the retailers, the property managers, and the commercial real estate people that this is a very dynamic place that supports its retailers.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay. I think your idea has merit. I'm not sure at this point. We've already last month approved what we are asking for, but that does not say that we cannot work up a proposal. What we would have to have, Roger, would be, the proposal itself, how it would be rolled out, how it would be monitored, and then what kind of follow-up would we have on that? And that would have to be brought back to CED and addressed as a separate unit.
Yeah, and I realize that, but I wouldn't take that on unless CED, you know, as a whole, embrace the idea, because it would be quite a bit of work.
Oh yeah.
It's in terms of that, and I don't mind doing the work, but not if there's and it doesn't bother me if there's not a groundswell of support for it at all. But we talked about doing something like this for Art Fest, where we would give the people coming to Art Fest some gift $5 gift card that's only redeemable at our retailers. So I think those things are highly measurable, and you can tell the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, no, I think it has merit. How about some other folks? Before we would be able to take this much further than just discussion in our committee, it would have to be something that would be a proposal that somebody could read and see, this is what it is you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to monitor it, and what kind of outcomes you're going to have from it. All of those would be pieces. So how about everybody else? Do you think it's a decent idea for Roger to move forward on? And again, this would be something we'd have to do in the next year, but it would be, I don't see everybody's ideas are equal in this place. So anybody else? Comments?
Hey guys, sorry, I know I haven't. Hello.
Hey, Anestia.
Hey, I know I haven't been. Sorry, there's a lot of static. Sorry guys, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm gonna try to untechnical difficulty and get back.
If you're on
Okay.
speakerphone, that'll create that echo.
Yeah, if you're on
There's
both
another,
things,
yep, I think there was
both the meeting
another.
and phone.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I think it's because it was on my iPad as well. I think I think it's an interesting idea in order to see if the money is being spent at the retailers. I think if the committee decided to pursue the idea, I think something nominal, $5, kind of makes more sense to me than doing a higher amount. Just because that $5, there's not a lot that you can buy with $5, so you'll kind of have to spend more if you just go out into the city and then use that. I think there are just not that many houses. For 200 houses, right? Like, or and just not that many residents. So there's, at the end of the day, I don't think that our shopping is gonna really make a dent in the residents' budgets. I think what we're trying to, I mean, in the commerce in the mall's budgets, I think what we're trying to do is see if these events that we bring people to actually bring business to our city. So I think when we think about rebates for attending an event, if it's to show that it brings business into our city, that's great. I'm not sure if the resident piece at that amount gets us that, but
Okay.
I have to think of that more.
Okay. Well, how about we table this idea until we go down the road a little bit further, and then we can bring it up again. And in the meantime, Aneshka, why don't you and Roger maybe put some thoughts together, and then bring it back to us later on. Okay? And the other piece about this is Ross has been working on that resident appreciation stuff, and the first one was last week. So we're kind of already gotten something in. It may be a neat way to integrate handing out a card and saying, take it to your vendor, and then they can turn it in, and we'll see that people are shopping in Sunset Valley. Again, residents, and we do. We want our residents to be aware, and we want our residents to shop. Take an interest in the government in Sunset Valley. Okay, thank you, Roger. Now, what I need to do is we need to rank these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do we have some ideas for how you would like to see them ranked? I know this is a little bit harder to do, but we do need to kind of say, in case as the mayor looks at our list, she's going to say, okay, I can fund this much, and she's going to go down through and fund our 1, 2, and 3, or 1 and 2, or 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's up to her as she puts together her budget. So what would you, if you were looking at this, what would you say is most important to you? Karen?
I think something that reaches all ages would be appropriate. Spring Fling to me is something very important, and that's
Okay.
our community has missed it this year.
They have, yeah.
Like the purchase of the trees, because Sunset Valley needs to decorate for Christmas.
Okay, so you'd say Spring Fling is 1, and then you'd think the long-term thing of purchasing lights would be number 2. Okay. How about some other folks?
I agree with Spring Fling, definitely, because people have missed it. Oh, am I on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. And then I think the business to business, we need to get up in the top.
I agree.
Okay, so do you want business to business to be 2 and lights
Yes.
for Sunset Valley 3?
Yes. And I think when I think of the lights of Sunset Valley, if you've ever been to Marshall, Texas, with all of the lights in their city at Christmas, it is beautiful.
Yeah. We lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it was phenomenal on Main Street. And they left them up all year long, and they had little bistro tables alongside, and you could go in to the restaurants and get a glass of wine and take it out and drink it along the street as it got dark. It was gorgeous. In the winter with the ice and the snow, they still had the trees lit and decorated for Christmas. So it is something very definitely, you're in downtown Ann Arbor when you start and you go through right down Main Street. So yeah, I agree. So Karen, you have a friendly amendment to your number 2 for the lights to go.
Sure. And
go
all
number,
business to business probably should be number 2.
Number 2, okay. And then lights number 3. Okay. Okay, social events for residents and retired residents programs. We need a number 4 and a number 5.
How about 4 for the social events for residents, since you're, kind of pushing for the volunteers?
Okay.
And then
And then
5
number
for
5.
the retired
Okay.
residents program. And we
Okay.
are missing getting together for that, Penny. You need to know my group has done it for 5 years continually, and we have missed it these last 4 months.
Oh, I know. I actually taught 3 times the matter of balance and was due to teach it because we had a waiting list. And then COVID struck.
Ruth and I talked today, and we both had commented on how we have missed being together.
And I personally think, we're helping keep our seniors independent and socialized by having, and, I did a monthly program that I gave in the budget $25. And basically it was pennies, that $25 for goodies. And then all the other stuff for a field trip was out of my pocket, but it really was worth it because we had a core group that loved to do it and it expanded. So I'd like to see this still maintained, but at some time, if we don't have the money, we don't have the money. I can't insist that we do that. So, okay, at this point in time, then let me clarify and we'll do a motion and approve it. Number 1, spring fling. Number 2, business to business support. Number 3, a strategic plan to begin purchasing lights for the trees in Sunset Valley. And 4, social events for the residents. And we may be able to integrate some other good things in that as well. And then number 5 is retired residents program. Can I have a motion to approve this?
I so move.
Sandy, a motion. Second?
I second. Karen?
Karen, second. Comments or questions? Okay, if we have no comments or questions, John, you're amazingly quiet, so it scares me a bit. Okay, if we have no comments or questions.
John's trying to get on and he can't.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
okay.
Can you hear me okay now? Does that
now
work
I can. Now I can. You must have been self-muted.
The interface was a little confusing. Yeah, my question was just with regard to the Christmas lights. What do we? Since we're running into issues on Brody, it says it's like on the trees in the median in Brody. Like how? I'm struggling to remember like past lighting. Just like how big?
We haven't done any lighting past that.
Oh, it hasn't happened before.
No, it has not happened, and that's why strategically we're saying buy a third or a half of the lights one year and another third or a half another year, and we can start with things like I'm used to the big trees all being lit up, but they can do simple things like Christmas trees, with the lights strung down. I don't know what you'd call them, but you put them out there and it identifies us. And again, we will be working with the company, the management companies, and with our marketing firm. But this is something that we still will be drivers on this, and we need to have ideas ready to pass on. So I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
My question was just sort of do we have an understanding of the scope of where we can put them, or is that really just part of the planning?
That's part of that strategic planning. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. But if we don't start planning now, we're going to be 3 years down the road and we're going to say, we needed this 3 years ago. And people are going to say, why didn't that committee get that started? So, okay. Thank you, John. Sure. Anybody else? Okay. Any questions? If not, call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Thank you. We have approved our general funds budget for 2021, and I have to get this into the mayor tomorrow. So thank you everybody for working with us. And we're also going to be keeping in touch with Steve and Cindy and Robert in the different market areas in Sunset Valley to let them know how we're working things as well. So thank you, everyone. Let me keep going down here. Okay, second sheet on this one is our hot funds, and what the mayor again asked for me to elaborate on the ideas of what it was that we had talked about in our meeting and how we wanted to do this and run these off. And she wanted to know the what, when, where, how many staff we'd need, when and where would it occur, is this a solid cost, and what about the COVID impact, and what happens if the cost is higher. And again, since we've not done these things on in a level where we're talking about doing it now, we don't really have an exact amount, so we had to ballpark it. And when we proposed it, you guys all approved how we were working on it. So, number one, I wanted to say that we really need to do events that are going to help identify Sunset Valley, get the economic engines going, having the businesses and our management companies see increased revenue, and then have some interest in making it stronger as we go down the road. And I do believe, I'm a firm believer in that we will, with our marketing company, be able to get a momentum going on a lot of these events. So it's not going to be like when we did Christmas events before, it was all volunteer. We are now going to have a professional company that can help us get things and people and management companies involved. So number one was, and again, there's another paragraph in here. We're working with Sasha to see if we can partner on some different events that are going down the road. And I think if we use our volunteer support, we can greatly enhance what is possible in Sunset Valley. Just kind of have to put that out there. Okay, Christmas in the Valley, lighting of the trees, arrival of Santa around the world, Christmas food trucks, and then caroling and music. And this is going to be something that has to be really heavily publicized and spread from around, when she asked when, around Thanksgiving to right before Christmas, because you know how they have all of those early sales and stuff. Okay, let's say use of the above mentioned parts in weekly special events, and begin with lighting of a big Christmas tree. And Arts Commission wanted it to be by the City Hall, but we did get some feedback from, I can't remember which one of the different marketing areas, not marketing, management people, that they would like to have Christmas tree in their own area as well. So we're going to have to negotiate that one out a little bit. And big time fanfare, Santa with visiting and picture opportunities, caroling with probably hot chocolate or apple cider, food trucks from different nationalities. And on the business side, sales and ways to give PR to entice shoppers to shop, eat, and play Sunset Valley. Our marketing firm will lead in organizing this with support from the management company and backup from staff and volunteers. Estimated cost is $35,000 to do PR and production. We'll need to keep a tight rein on this because it can balloon very easily if guides and oversight are not enforced. And again, the committee that is going to be working with the marketing company is going to be responsible to keep things, as well as staff. We can't just depend on staff to keep reins on that. So we need to make sure we got that in place. And then a spring activity, again, oops, somebody's got a phone.
Oh, sorry about that.
2 points. Spring activity is to be determined. Heavy promotional links to businesses and eateries and incentives to shop and eat in Sunset Valley. And Roger, that might be a time when we could do something with what you were proposing, kind of tie that in a little bit. I just thought about that. CED sees the COVID-19 pandemic on the far side of its power, and as the Easter and spring season begins, it's good time to invite people out of sheltering and into the sunlight. By planning this event right after the holiday season ends, we can get excitement up and make this a spring into spring event with new clothes, plans for vacation, and I don't know about you guys, but I've been housebound for so stinking long that I need to get out, and we need to get someplace where we can go have fun. And we can include all shopping centers in Sunset Valley, eateries, sporting events, sales on clothes, footwear. It will involve all aspects of the commercial arena. We see incentives, buy at 3 stores, and then bring your receipts to a certain eatery and get a certain percentage off of your meals. Again, that's involving not just the business side of things, but also the food and drink business, so they can do that. And I know we've already kind of reached out to some of the businesses, and they're willing to work with us on this as well. Okay, give out door prizes throughout the event, either length of either a week or a weekend. And planning is essential, and buy-in from the business community is the responsibility of the marketing firm and our staff. Again, we've never done anything this expensive, so the cost is an estimate and will need to be monitored closely so there are not overruns to the $20,000 budget. Again, this is a big thing. It's going to take lots of getting it organized, but my thought is that it's something we can run and tie into some of the things that we've already put out there to help the businesses. Third event, and again, as you can see, this goes through the year, the Christmas holiday season, then spring, and getting ready for vacations. And then the third one is the back to school event. Exhibits for children, shop around specials, city hall, public works, and the police department tours. They can do stories, crafts, all kinds of different things while the parents are shopping. At a time when children are getting ready to return to school, fall events, activities, etc., it's ideal to do a push to promote Sunset Valley. The thrust of this is to provide Sunset Valley as a place where families, quote unquote, can go to shop, dine, and know that they are safe and learning while mom shops for school things that she needs to get for the kids. As seen from the notes above, it will involve organizing staff and volunteers to carry out some of these activities. CED believes that doing this event on a weekend, and possibly tax-free weekend, I don't know when it is, but that again makes some sense, could be publicized, carried out, and achieved in a short period, but at the same time show shoppers that the great things available to them are convenient in Sunset Valley. And there's a buzz going around about looking at what do we want to do with the area out behind La Madeleine's, and think about how if we had something out there that we could do some activities with students. It would be a controlled environment. It would be a neat place for the kids to go and explore, or maybe have activities. That's, again, something that could tie into that. And this is things that, since we talked to the mayor, have come up to my brain, and I want to bring them up to you guys. So anyway, this is something that, again, I tried to take all of our ideas that we discussed in June, kind of elaborate on them and put them down in a format that is defined enough that the mayor can look at it and say, yes, these are good things. And it's a whole year's program, but at the same time, there's little pieces that can come in and be added to it as we go down the process. So, and again, I don't know how, I find this rather hard to rank, but we have to rank it as 1, 2, and 3.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. But the mayor did say rank these, and then, after she looks at her budget, she'll let us know how much she can fund and what she thinks is important.
Penny,
Yes. I'm sorry, I heard a couple of voices, so.
That's okay. Go ahead, Karen.
I think because we made Christmas in the valley as an important part in spring fling, I don't know exactly how to, and back to school event is one we've done before. So I guess we listed the Christmas as 3.
I was going to say, since we did spring fling as 1, maybe we should do the spring activity as 1 here. Not that they're.
And link them together.
Well, okay. I'm not sure how they would tie together. Can I put out my thoughts on this? And
Sure.
I've been agonizing over this, trust me. to try and figure out how we were going to rank these things because all are essential pieces of our marketing plan for the year. They're all areas. My thinking is as we first get involved with our marketing company, their timeline says there's about 4 months where they won't be doing any kind of marketing, and that's one of those things that we've got to discuss. But at the same time, that's the first event coming up. And then if the economic engine gets started rolling again, by the time we get to the second thing, we can make that number 2 on a timeline. And then back to school is number 3. That's almost a whole year out from today. It may be that our recovery is in not good shape, but better shape. So do we want to do the timeline thing and say, we really need to help our businesses now with Christmas first, and then second with a spring activity, and that can be Easter, it can be vacation, there's lots of things that can be added into that. And then the third one being a whole year out would be hopefully would see a lot of recovery and people are doing things that they haven't been able to do lately. What do you guys think about that?
Penny, I definitely agree that I think the Christmas is the number one priority. Plus, that's the highest sort of shopping season of the year.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I think that's a good top priority. It's hard for me to decide between spring and back to school. It feels like back to school is again one of these moments where a lot of people are, and especially a lot of moms are out shopping for kids. Whereas spring doesn't seem as specific a time for that, but I don't know. Spring cleaning. I kind of want to know about data, and maybe.
Well, and we don't have that yet. Yeah. What my thinking was, and this is kind of my brain, and this is the nurse talking as well. I'm looking at, everybody's hunkered down now, and the projections of the COVID stuff and flu are going to give us spikes again, into the fall and the January. As that spike goes back down on the other side of the new year, January, February, people are going to be saying, I need to come out and see the sunshine. And that would be, let me plan a trip to, Portugal. Let me plan a trip to, wherever, but just let me get out and go. And for that, I'm going to need clothes. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. And families going on vacation. So that's kind of my thinking on that one. But this is our committee. So we can look at 1 being Christmas, 2 being back to school, and 3 being spring. I just want to make sure we have these ranked, but we all know, and I want anybody, and I'm going to just task you all to the umpteenth degree, is to say, if somebody talks to you about these items on either the general fund or our fund, I want us to be able to know and to be able to talk about it to them and say how good it is that we've gone through. We've ascertained all of the probables. We've looked at the cost. We've looked at what we can achieve from it. These are things we think are important, and we've all got to be advocates. You have to be the PRs out in the world. So just telling you that.
Yeah, I think it's this is Anushka. I kind of been leaning towards the Christmas first, and then kind of the same thing. It's like, I think data has shown, like, if we look at our past sales, I think probably our sale time is Christmas, followed by back to school, followed by the spring. So I don't know whether you capitalize on that, the natural kind of consumer patterns that we've seen in the past. I don't know if they will change post-COVID. I also don't know. So I guess there's 2 philosophies, right? You already have business in, so let's work on making it exponential, or let's try to pick up some business when we don't already have business in our model. Let's go for the spring, So I don't know if who would be the person to. I don't even know if the marketing firm could advise us on that. I know the pieces of having to the mayor tomorrow. I definitely would think Christmas first. I'm on the fence on the other two or three. I mean, I would say
Okay.
back to
Okay.
but not
Okay.
married.
Okay. How about I haven't heard from Sandy and Karen on number 2 and number 3. So let's go and then we rank them and we move forward because we really do have to keep moving here.
Well, I agree with Christmas in the Valley. That's really logical, being number one.
Uh-huh.
And I think we can handle back to school event as number 2. And 3, it sounds like a whole lot more organization and other things. So I'd go 1, Christmas in the Valley, 2, back to school, and 3, spring activity.
And so will
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. So as a committee, I'm hearing from you. Number 1, unanimously Christmas in the Valley.
Mhm.
Number 2 would be
Back to school.
back to school. And then number 3 would be the spring activity. And if we find out funds open up more, we go with number 2 at a little bit higher thing and push on that some. Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move for
Okay.
that.
John, motion, second.
That ranking.
Okay. 1, Christmas. 2, back to school. 3, spring. Okay. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Second by Karen. Comments or questions? Okay. If not, I call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion is passed. Thank you, everybody. You helped make my life a little bit easier. And I think that with what we have talked about, how we're all together on all of these items and how important we feel they are, we are going to be drivers whenever we look at what it is that the marketing firm is going to be. Actually, we will have the ideas to feed to them. So I want us to have some good, strong, firm things that we want to share. Okay, let's see. We got those ranked. Number, 7 is discussion and review of the marketing services contract.
Penny, excuse me just a minute.
Sure.
I don't have the agenda back on my screen and I'm not able to get it back. Is there?
Sylvia, are you muted?
I
Are
am
you with
muted.
us?
I'm getting
Whoops.
back up. There's a delay on how fast it shows up on the screen.
Okay.
Oh,
thank
okay.
you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So it'll be back up there in a minute. Okay.
Plus, I do want to show I'll have both versions up, but I want to show the red line as well.
Okay. Okay. While you're getting that stuff together, how about, let me see here. Let's see. That I've got taken care of. I do want to share with you that we have gotten a thing from Spirit 1059, and because we did not have it came, I think, 2 days before the deadline for investing in it. Spirit 1059 had school tools remote package, and this is a thing they sent us, and they needed an answer back in 2 days. The investment was $4,500. Obviously, we could not meet. We couldn't get it to council in a time to do something, so we did have to pass on this. But I wanted you to know that this is something that we are still getting information on. There's Spirit, there's 95.5, there's some other opportunities out there, some things with the community impact that they were asking us about. Did we want to advertise? And since we did not have a marketing firm to be able to help us put something together, we had to pass on that as well. So it will be very nice once we get an approved marketing firm that we can move forward on. Okay, let's see. Discussion and review of the marketing services contract. Sylvia is going to do this, and Roxy is with us. She is our legal representative, and they're going to update and brief us of developments as we went through the process. And before we get started, what I want to just make sure that everybody is aware of, CED did not recommend any firm over other firms. That was not what we did. We went through and reviewed all of the RFPs. We ranked them by the 8 questions that were things that were in the RFP and how did they propose to address these. We ranked those numbers, sent the top 3 off to the council to do presentations, and that was our recommendation. We never made any recommendation to approve a particular firm over another. We completely ranked them, and that was it. And so I want everybody to be aware that Residence was 516, Augustine was 483, and Ampersand was 477. So these 3 agencies went to the council, and the council chose, but they chose from the presentations. And we don't want to get into any gray areas of recommending things. We did not recommend any particular firm, okay? And what I'd like us to do once we are done with this discussion and we get things to a point where we have a contract, and there's been some things back and forth with Ampersand, and they'll fill you in on that. Sylvia and Roxy will fill us in on that. Once we get things in place and we can sign a contract, I'd like us as CED to have a kickoff meeting, okay? And this will be after the council approves it on the August 4th meeting. We're going to go through and list things that we feel from the proposals, from what we think are important for CED and for Sunset Valley, to focus on what the marketing company will be addressing in priorities. So please be prepared. Originally, we normally don't meet in August, but because of the way things are coming through, we do need to do this because we want to get things moving and be able to get back in the ballgame and help our companies. Any questions, anybody? Okay. Sylvia, you and Roxy have the floor, and that's agenda number 7.
Okay, hi, everybody. Roxy and I will tag team this. Roxy's available for any questions. I will go over the contract really at a high level. This is iteration number 6, and it's taken a lot of work between the attorneys to get it to this point. And we had a couple of main sticking points, and you can see from all of the revisions this is the red line that has gone out. You guys have the final, but everything that went through was a lot of back and forth. And generally it was an easy discussion to have, although I think we're at a point that this is going to go forward to council because this is what we can agree to. And I want to go over some of the things that are at question. So the first and foremost is Ampersand agency. So the presentation that was submitted to the city council was Ampersand and Canales. And the presentation says longtime trusted creative partners and so on and so forth. So Canales is a longtime resident of Sunset Valley, et cetera, et cetera. So when we received the contract and it's only Ampersand, obviously that was a feeling among some committee members and myself that this was maybe a bait and switch, that wasn't what we thought we were sold, especially since the council really talked about the local component. And so we went back and forth. In the end, Canales is included in the contract, although they are a contractor to Ampersand. Their hourly rate and things is included in the agreement. The feeling was that Ampersand is Canales is a very small agency, did not want to be on the hook for the entire master service agreement if Ampersand were to back out. Ampersand is a bigger agency and has the wherewithal to complete the MSA. Any questions on that?
I would just make a statement that I wouldn't have expected Canales to be party to the agreement other than perhaps referenced as being sort of a key player or a key man. So I don't think anybody in the city should feel concerned about the fact that they're not technically a party to the agreement. I have a project right now where our firm pitched with another firm, us doing the creative and the other firm doing the media buys, and we were very explicit about who was going to do what, but that we were the contracting firm and that they were going to be serving as a subcontractor. So this is a very typical thing. I don't think nobody should feel like that in and of itself represents a bait and switch. I mean, if they turned around and didn't use Canales, then that would be a bait and switch for sure. So if what you've done is sort of make sure they have sort of a key man reference, that they will be used, that they won't be swapped out for anyone else, I think that's a good protection for us to have.
Well, my concern was, John, is that as they were presented as being shoes on the ground, local people, no Sunset Valley, and that was the promotional piece that really gave people a lot of comfort in choosing ampersand versus the other two that really ranked higher. What if at some point ampersand said, we don't want to use you anymore? They have no options and they can go elsewhere, and our connection to that good, comfortable feeling is gone. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot.
Yeah, right. Which is why I think it's good that the key man, essentially a key man provision, that's what's been added.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to read the document, but I think that was a good. I agree. I think that was a good addition.
Yeah. I think it needed to be. Oh, thanks, Roxy.
This is Roxy Stevens. We had a lot of back and forth with ampersand, and they were very reasonable and easy to talk to and understanding. There was, that we did have some disagreements, but we ultimately resolved them. And they understood the presentation, because when I came in on the back end, and I was looking at the legality, and my first question was, okay, this presentation was ampersand and Canales and Company, but where's Canales? I did see the reference to the fees and everything like that. So what we did, and they understood the concerns that I heard from council members and the committee members, and the concern I had, because the presentation and the RFP response that was voted upon. And so what we did is legally, we drafted the contract in a way that ampersand is the contractor for the master service agreement and liable for that entire master service agreement. But within the contract, we embedded Canales as a guaranteed subcontractor, and included them within that, including their hourly rate as presented and voted upon from their RFP response, and the scope of work that they're going to be responsible for. And that's all reflected in the contract. And also in good faith, they did present to me with the subcontract that they are working on with Canales to show that this is guaranteed, and it's a provision within the master service agreement itself.
Great.
Great.
Hey, this is Roger, and I would take the opposite on that, is that if ampersand is the master agreement and they're not happy with what they're getting from Canales, they ought to be able to fire Canales and plug somebody else in that satisfies our expectations. And so I would have an issue with guaranteeing that the Canales part of this thing. Now, I think it was smart and it was wise for them to bring Canales in as part of the pitch, but there's no guarantees, that Canales is gonna meet all the expectations, or couldn't create problems for ampersand down the road if they have a guaranteed contract that can't be fired. So that would I think that would be a big rub for me.
This is Roxy Stevens again, and ampersand is required, or through the contract, they're signing up to be liable to provide us with these services. And these services are going to be through, as they presented, they have certain services that are allocated to Canales currently as a guaranteed subcontractor. If Canales were not to be able to meet their metrics or their threshold, Ampersand would then not be able to meet the provisions of the contract. At that point, Ampersand would be able to come to the city and say, hey, this is not working out, we need an amendment. And it would require, because of the way it was presented and the way it was voted on, then the city would be able to consider a substitute for Canales if necessary. So we're not stuck with a subcontractor that's if for some reason the work does not meet the requirements or the quality threshold that is required by the MSA, there's still the opportunity to find somebody else and fix that and do that, but it would have to be a discussion upon everybody, because then it would ultimately be an amendment to the contract.
Yeah, I hear you, Roxy, but really at the end of the day, we want to hire one firm and task them to do the work and not hold their hands or I just don't think that's the way. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I would never ever enter into a contract that bound me to a subcontractor, regardless of how key he was at the point of presentation. He or she was at the point of the presentation, and I just think that creates all kinds of issues down the road that could crop up that would keep us from getting the delivery of services if that were to happen. I just don't see that as being a sound business agreement.
Well, Roger, I think we came at it from the point of what was represented in the RFP and what was presented to the committee and what was presented to the council. And so they were agreeable because they wanted to be honest and forthcoming. And so I think this is the most transparent way. There's still a way out. They just have to come to the council. And that's an open and clear way to do it. So the council knows who they thought they were engaging with may potentially be changing. Although Ampersand is on the hook, one of the things we thought about was, well, if Canales is just a subcontractor, there's no reason why they would even elect to use them if they chose not to use them. So it was really for a consistency sake on our part, so that we were engaging the people we thought we were engaging.
Yeah, I still have an issue with it, Sylvia. Thanks.
Okay. All right, Sylvia, you want to keep on going?
Yes. Okay. So the other big point of contention back and forth was the deliverables that were expected in the time frame. We as a committee and as staff, we didn't work on a particular timeline for things to be delivered. And so what we've worked on through them is we've taken the information, the RFP and the presentation, and came up with the statement of work that is expected from them, as well as a timeline and payment milestones within that timeline. And this is again assuming that the contract gets approved on August the 5th. And the work, the portion of the work is 117.5. That's estimated within the contract. And I think one of the points that Penny brought up was we won't have a deliverable for some part or some point in time. And so I know she wanted to visit with you on that point. So Penny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things, if you look on the contract on page 19 under Exhibit B, it says personnel hours and estimated fee schedule. Okay, as I look at this, and I know that they have their onboarding, their strategy, their dynamic insight, part 1, part 2, part 3. There's 4 months of stuff that they're doing, and we are getting no deliverables at all. I think, number one, we need to control the spending, because we're not going to be getting a lot more money, and we've got to stretch the money out as far as we can. And then time-wise, if you go 4 months down the road, and if you look at month number 4 is on page 20, it's all the way down to December. And we need to be able to have stuff out there to be doing things that are going to start up the revenue streams and encourage shopping for our businesses. And then as we go down the thing with events, being able to fund those events and help ourselves get something done. I mean, I think it's wonderful that, we have all of this research and development stuff, but in the meantime, we are being kind of bled out on the amount of cost. I mean, 26.3, 29, 15,000 for a kickoff dynamic insight phase 3. I have no idea on that one. And then another 29,000 on month 4. And then they're going to come to us at the end of the month with retail recommendations. But that's way out. That's too far in my book. I'm sorry. I can't see us sitting on our thumbs.
I have this is John. I have a strong disagreement with you on this, Penny.
Okay,
because
that's fine.
Let me lay out why. I mean, I think throughout all three agencies' pitches, laid out processes that involved starting with a robust discovery because you don't know what you need to make. And if you try to shortchange that or sort of pick it apart line item by line item, I mean, they've laid this out in this way out of a necessity of this process. But fact of the matter is, I'm certain Ampersand, as well as the other agencies, fundamentally look at their research and strategy process as a single process to meet with stakeholders, to do market research, to do consumer research, to digest those insights, to present their insights in these phases to the stakeholders so that the creative deliverables are strategic. And our RFP was emphatic about this being strategic. And I think even the various the strong interest in the Resonance firm, for example, which I know was a strong firm, they would have been even probably more research, longer time frame than this. And so when I saw this sort of graphic that was attached, where in 4 weeks we're getting ad concepts, if that's them responding to the feedback they're getting, I just want to raise a giant red flag that what we are effectively doing and pushing back in this way is we're saying we want you to just guess and jump right to the making stuff because we want to have stuff.
No, John, hang on for a second, please.
So that's what I'm worried. That's what it sounds like is being said. So
no, what I'm trying to say is that it's companies that are professional marketing companies should have a history of how they have addressed things and have an idea of how things will roll out. What they should be doing is looking what's specific to Sunset Valley and not taking this whole marketing concept all the way through. I think we need to have a blending of the two.
Penny, I don't know what that means.
Well, I'm not sure I understand what 4 months worth and some $1,000 is costing us without having any ability to do any marketing. We're going to be sitting here waiting around to try and get something done for 4 months. Why is there not
Penny,
a way?
What I'm saying to you as a professional,
can I finish? You're interrupting me.
This is what this process takes. This is what this process takes. It takes time. It takes time to do research. It takes time to actually develop a knowledge base. The firms
and a firm does not have the ability to restore historically what they have done in the past and have an idea of what they're going to see.
But they've never worked for Sunset Valley in the past.
But they've worked for other areas in the area.
Then you're asking them to prescribe things without having any strategic insights at all. You're saying jump to making ads.
No, what I'm saying is blend the two. I'm saying blend the two.
But that's not the way the sequence works to actually, then you're spending money on executing things that are not based on any knowledge of the actual city, the actual current conditions, the conditions as they evolve over time. I mean, it's like if you came to me and said, make me great ads that are going to drive business, I would make stuff that I like, and I would say I have no idea if this is going to connect with the community, because you've asked me to do stuff before I've gone through the process to learn what the community, what the retailers, what the consumers are. That's the process. There is no shortchanging this. This is the process that all three firms in some form or another laid out for us. They all had a process that was like this. And if we are going to say, don't do the process we hired you to do,
No,
we're going to
John,
prescribe and
not,
out of order
don't
things. I
do
think that's
blend. Blend,
but
John,
blend
there's a
is
word
just,
difference.
Penny, why do you think you know how they should run this better than what they've laid out? Why? Blending
Because
between
I
what and what?
see us in a need to have some things being done. And what I'm asking is,
But
rather
shouldn't
than
we do the
sitting
thing that's
there,
right? That's
how do you
the
know
old,
it's right? How do you know it's the only way to
that's
do
the
it?
point,
Okay,
Penny.
that's,
Hey,
We
this
don't
is
know.
Ro-
That's why
this
they
is
need to take the time. That's why we hired professionals to actually do the work. But you're
hey,
asking them to jump to showing us concepts. There's no way
I'm
that they should be
asking
ready
them to
in 4
help
weeks
us
for
with the things
concepts.
that we're trying to approve to do. Okay,
hey,
I'm
Penny.
uncomfortable.
Hey,
Yes,
Penny.
sir.
This is Roger. Let me,
Mhm.
and John. uh, I think I understand, Penny. I really understand what you're coming from, and I think John's got some good points, and it really comes down to an understanding that when you take on an assignment like this, whether it's me or whatever, anybody, you're going to want to make sure that what you do is based upon some kind of input and research that justifies the messaging or branding or creative that you're going to do. And so, but by the same token, I understand the sense of urgency that we have about this. And so I'm certain that ampersand being local here
Should have.
and being more creative driven than strategic driven uh, would find a way to make things happen, not just based upon some kind of artificial time scale, but as fast as possible. The other
Yeah.
thing too, I want to throw in here is that now immediately, if they had an idea, immediately it might not be the best time to spend the money. So because of the current conditions, if you throw your money into a marketplace, heavily into a marketplace, which is constrained by situations like COVID, then that money is going to get wasted. That money could probably be timed and spent at a point in time that lies right ahead of the time that things start to really open back up better. So I'm not certain that even if they were ready to go right now, to dump all that money in is going to drive any more business. And that's
I
always
agree.
been a concern I have.
You know what? Then I guess what I'm asking is for ampersand to be more flexible and not in this timeline saying this is exactly what we're going to be doing. To say that, and Roxy, maybe you can help understanding, that they would be willing to work with us on this, to say that we will be flexible on this timeline and cost, etc., because we have to watch how we spend our funds. Number two, if things start to clear up, and Roger, that's a good point. If things start to clear up sooner or they're later, then we're going to have to be playing back and forth on things. And I agree there. But I just kind of got the feeling that this was very much a line by line by line, and don't expect anything before November, December, actually December. And I want them to say that we're flexible to work with you. If you guys come up with something that you historically know is good and that would work, we can work with you on it. Maybe that's the key. I'm not asking for them, John, to come up with ideas on their own to tell us what we're going to do. But if we come up with something that we think is good and we go to them and say, historically, we've done this for X number of years and it's been successful, What do you think about it? We should be able to, they're hired by us. We should still be the drivers. And
I really don't like the idea that we hire professionals and then tell them how to do their job. I think that's a
I'm with
recipe,
Roger.
because
Yeah.
if it doesn't work, it's our problem. It's not
Yeah.
theirs. We can't hold them accountable for something we told them to go do.
This is Anushka. I think a lot of everybody's made some really strong points. Especially, I really agree with Roger. I mean, probably about the timing of it all. I mean, I think you could have some really good marketing campaign, and people aren't buying anything right now. I mean, they're very worried about money, and they're not going out. So there's probably not going to be a mad rush to the stores in a month or two. Anyway, I guess if one of our biggest priorities is Christmas, then doesn't it just kind of need to be in place for the Christmas marketing season, which would put it around the 3.5, 4 months?
Yeah, but you have to start planning ahead on that. You can't just wait till 2 weeks before to start putting things out.
Yeah, I mean that would be scary, right? If we don't have a marketing by Christmas, maybe. I mean, or what's Plan B if
One
we
of my
don't?
concerns. Yeah.
For our city at our budget level, at what this is, and to go back to the what we articulated in the RFP, if we want to get the most out of this budget, and this budget is not massive, this is a very modest budget for as a marketing plan goes, but it's a big budget for us as a city. We need to look at this as the creation of longer term value in a creative strategy. There is these phases. What you're going to find if you trust the process they've laid out, because the process they've laid out is not an excessively slow process, and what you're going to find is at each phase there is going to be insights. If they're doing their job well, and if we picked a good firm, we might end up feeling like we made a mistake. But if they do a good job, they should be revealing insights that build cumulatively towards something, a strategy, a way of communicating the city's value proposition in marketing, creating the market for the city, such that all manner of executions and deliverables and ad units can come from that and spring from that and be coherent and consistent from that. And I think what is often the case, and Penny, I'm sorry for getting emphatic about it. This stuff hits very close to home for me because people will look at a finished product with something like a tagline, for example. And what they don't see is the reason that tagline works and seems so good, and it just is like rolls off the tongue and it seems so obvious, and it fits, is that there was like 6 months of work that went into identifying exactly how to position the product and who your audience really is. Is it moms or is it dads? I mean, that's like a fundamental difference in what you're going to make. Is it young or is it old? Well, we don't know. So there's always a tension and there's always a desire to start seeing stuff, because this first part of the process is a lot of presentations and a lot of analysis, and it's like I understand this desire very much. It's a good desire, but we should not look at this as a near-term band-aid. This should be a creative platform to position the city over multiple years. If we want to get our money's worth, this has got to be a multi-year investment in creative strategy and in advertising that can run in 2021 and 2022. Now, maybe the world moves so tough that that's impossible, but at this spend level, as a percentage of the budget of the city allocating towards marketing, man, if we don't get that, are we really coming back to city council next year for a similar amount of money? Like, if we're not, then we really better make sure this creates long-term value.
Well,
and if we
John,
set
I
them
guess
as side missions, it comes at the expense. It's their, the partners who pitch to us, they only have so many hours in the day. So if we say, we'll do this other thing alongside it, there's the opportunity cost to that. So now they change their focus to the near term instead of the process.
Well, John,
So
I have
that's
the problem.
I'm
I
just
have the
begging, I'm
problem.
begging to follow their process.
I have the problem of looking at, as chairman of CED, that, okay, we've just now approved and not approved, but ranked for the 2021 budget, which would be a maximum of $75,000. Okay. That's not, as I'm concerned, that's not enough really to do a decent job. So what I want us to do is to be able to get things rolling so that when we come back to council and say we need more funding, or things are turning around with the COVID, we want more money, we have the ability to say, look, we can show you that this has worked, that this is good, that this will give us the return that we need. I guess I'm trying to think strategically down the road as well as short term, and I find that I've got a dichotomy there. So that's what I'm worried about as much as anything. Okay, so understand my perspective too.
I think the sense of we want, if they're good partners, then and good to work with, then I think asking them to be open-minded and flexible is a reasonable ask.
And that's what I'd like to do.
But I think this orange graph is not that. Where 4 weeks there's creating and building 3 concepts to choose from, and identity and look and feel established. What is this for? When did this recommended timeline month 1 to 3 come about? Because this couldn't have been their original proposal.
This is Roxy.
It's called ampersand recommended timeline.jpg. What was this?
This is Roxy.
This is ampersand's
timeline.
Sorry, go ahead, Roxy.
This came directly from their response to the RFP and their presentation.
Yep, there's another image here. There you go.
Yeah, I just want some flexibility in the process.
This is starting at phase 3. See, I'm confused by this graphic. When
oh, that's
what is this?
That's the there's a graphic right before that. There's there's 2 that look the same and one says onboarding.
Yeah, it feels like I'm missing a lot of stuff, like with this JPEG that was attached. Is it that this starts at, like, how does this correlate to the contract? This JPEG.
So what's in front of you?
Yeah,
that's part of the contract.
Yeah, so part of the deliverables was where and how much is execution going to be. We gave them free rein on that. We did not give them a timeline, a stipulation, nothing. This is directly from ampersand.
Okay, but this is not like 4 weeks from execution. Like this 4 weeks ongoing monthly. Like this is somewhat detached when this is when that's happening.
Yes, month 1, 2, 3, 4.
John,
there's supposed to be 2 orange graphics.
Yeah, this is Matt.
This one, Roxy.
Roxy said, let me send it out to the committee right now. This is Matt. Sorry about that. I only sent the second page. Let me send that to committee members right now.
That's the first one.
Oh, okay. All right, let's see. So onboarding 2 weeks, dynamic insight 2 weeks, then the optional additional research is 60 days, then 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, okay. All right. Seeing this first
and then it goes so on and so forth, and it matches.
Okay.
It matches the timeline here.
Okay. I was reading this as this was when you guys said that you'd sort of asked them to revise the timeline, that they sent this second orange one, that they were jumping right into creating concepts like out of the gate, and that at the end of 4 weeks from execution that we'd be seeing, style guides and stuff like that. And that was like a explosion for me. Like, uh-oh. we're way off track if that's where we're headed.
I think my
Okay.
request is to ask for them to be able to be a partner in this process. Okay. And I that's something I didn't see in the contract that I was reading.
So this is
Why do you
Roxy.
say that? Why do you say that, Penny? What's not partnering about the process?
Because they're giving us their timeline with no ability to kind of and I don't want to say compromise, because I want them to be able to give information. And when we go back to page 13 under Exhibit A, Statement of Work, advisory is steering committee. And the steering committee is the group they're going to be working with. And once that steering committee is put together, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Roxy, is that we at CED want to have insight as to who will be on that committee and how they will be communicating with ampersand. That's the next piece that I kind of need to understand better. And I want them to be able to talk with us.
Penny, this is Roxy,
Yeah.
and I'm going to address before I move on to the steering committee issue, because I need to look at that one. But let me tell you that when we were doing this or going back and forth on the master service agreement, one of the things that I was made sure to integrate into this service agreement, and that ampersand was willing to do and flexible about, was that anything that they were going to do with regard to the advertising and marketing strategies, they were going to obtain the approval of the city. So they're not going to just go off and take off. Integrated in all of them, especially if you see on paragraph 2, and I think it's in the third line, paragraph 2, they're going to be formulating and submitting the client's approval for advertising strategies. And it's also mentioned in a couple of other, I think number 4.1, agency will obtain prior approval for the strategic marketing plan prior to the commencement of additional work for client. So ampersand is wanting to be a partner. They want to. Good. They can't provide us with our service without communicating with us and making sure that everybody's on the same page about what they want. So that's integrated throughout the entire
contract.
Yes.
Okay,
and that was
thank
one of the
you.
things that I added in there, and they were willing to accept my my revisions.
Okay. Thank you.
Penny?
Yes.
This is Phil. Let me just make a comment, if I may. Whenever I enter into an agreement, I intend that agreement to be workable, be honored, and to produce deliverables. And I always enter into a contract with good faith. Having said that, I always then look is what is the out for either party if we just don't like what they deliver, or they don't like us, or they don't like working with us, and we give unreasonable expectations, or we don't like their work. So I'm going to jump and ask the question, Roxanne, what is the no-fault termination if we have to use it? I understand that I have no intent of ever wanting to use it. It gives us our safety net, or gives them the safety net. What is the no-fault termination that either party could apply here?
So that's found in section 5 of the final agreement, the final draft. Yep. And what it does is the contract is effective for 12 months. And for the first 3 months, because the 3 months are onboarding and all of that, all of the things that need to be done before they start coming to you with the marketing strategies, that 3-month term is non-cancelable. But anytime after that, say you want to, after the 3 months, you could give 30 days prior notice for any reason, including any no-fault cancellation. Say y'all just don't, you're like, this is just not a good fit, we're just going to terminate. So then we have just a wind down period to make sure that we cover all the ongoing items, that either whether they had to get subcontractors or publications or some kind of artwork, things like that. Make sure that we reconcile and close all those out, and there's a wind down period, but we can give a 30-day notice for no fault, and it should be, after that, it would be terminated within 60 days.
Okay, So I would ask this question to everybody on the committee. After 90 days, is that sufficient time for, if you like, for both parties to pass the sniff test? Is that where we can say, hey, we like what they're doing, they like us, and we move forward? Understand that I'm not going into this contract, do not want to go into this contract with any intention of breaking the contract if we agree on this contract and we move forward. But is 90 days long enough where we can look and sit down and this committee could get together and say, you know, I like them, they're doing good, you know, and they come back with some good ideas? Or is it long enough for us to come back and say, can they're not hitting the spot with us? Is that long enough? I'm asking that question. I don't have an answer. I don't have a pre-proposed solution either. I'm just asking that.
Phil, I think that's a great question. I think my question would just be: we currently meet on a monthly basis, so I think the question that Penny raised about steering committee and about the frequency of communications and the touch points and who's engaged in those touch points throughout is going to be
critical,
totally linked with that, right? Because you know, three meetings to see a snapshot over a 90-day period isn't a lot of relationship. So it sort of boils down to who's engaging with them on a regular basis and is empowered to really figure it out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think this can, you know, I don't think it's ever hands off. It has to be the first 90 days or whatever we decide. If there's 120 days, I'm just saying we have that in there as a no fault. It is critical that expectations are outlined between both parties, I think, in terms of what this relationship is going to be. And I just make that as a point. You know, I'm rather than that, you know, I just make that as a point. And I will now shut up.
I'm certain that this firm, like any of the firms would have been, desperately want to make sure that they get expectations aligned as early as possible, because if they're any good at their job, they know that meeting and exceeding the client's expectations is the key to their success and their survival. So 90 days should be plenty, but it does boil down to, like, what does the mechanic of those 90 days look like? Is the city, you know, and when does the city council get involved? Like, what do these pitch presentations look like? Who are they pitching to? There's going to be a lot of presentations in this process.
That's a good question.
That was a good question.
And I think that brings up the piece about the steering committee. And Roxy, you were going to address that?
Yes, you said it was on page 19. Now, one of the things
page
on
13, yeah.
Oh, excuse me. While I'm looking for that, with regard to who they're going to be pitching to and who's going to be making the decisions, that's ultimately going to be, we're going to need direction from council on that. If they want to make it certain things administrative in nature, we need to know that from the council. If they want to defer that to the CED committee, we need to know that. So that's one of the things, one of the directions that we're going to have to seek from the city council once they consider this and if they approve it. So let me look at 13.
It's on the screen, Roxy.
Okay. Let me see. This team will be composed of representatives from the CED, council, city administration, and the city and community meeting attendance will be required. So, you know, one of the things that we need to do is, I don't recall in the presentation if they addressed this specifically, but we would have to come to an understanding with Ampersand as to who they expect that on there. And again, we'll have to seek direction from council to see how we'll be appointing to this advisory steering committee.
Yeah, and so some of the discussion has been that it would be members of the council, perhaps not all, but the council selection, the CED chair and whoever the CED votes on, myself, and then we had some discussion about the community, and the community being the business folks on, you know, what are the needs? What should we be doing?
So ultimately, I think we probably have to have a little bit more conversation just on the makeup of the actual committee with ampersand, but that's something that we would seek some direction from council as to how who they want to appoint, and how many people from the CED they want to appoint as well. And also from the of course, the administration would probably be the city administrator, and then how many members of the community. And that's, you know, that's going to come upon a mutual agreement. This is written in a way that, and I want to say this because it addresses some issues that have been brought up earlier. Ampersand's an independent contractor. Even though we approve the strategy and the overall marketing services that they're going to provide to us, including the marketing strategy plan, they're the ones in charge of, you know, providing the service to us and doing whatever they need to do in order to fulfill the obligations of the contract.
Sylvia, this is Anushka. I have a money question, and I'm sorry if I just don't get it. The money that we approved, right, or the money that we're ranking based on the projects that are taking place, the money that we were talking about with the lights or with the back to school, or not actually with the back to school, with the back to school and the advertising money, is that all coming from the money that we're giving this agency, or is there other monies that we're talking about in addition to what we're paying for the proposal for those events?
The proposal is standalone on its own. That 230 is encumbered, and it's for the contract. What you guys voted on earlier is in addition to.
Okay, so I guess then, do we need to really hurry this process for a deadline? Like, why don't we be just using that money to kind of get through Christmas? And we got that last time we were, I don't think we had last Christmas, right? So this would be kind of like the money, hopefully, that we would get approved would be kind of like, in addition to this proposal, that would be kind of like the Band-Aid money to get us through this season while a longer term project is being kind of done with this agency.
Well, and I think that's where the cohesion and a coordinated approach comes from. It wouldn't be wise for us to spend money on, like, let's say a back to school or something else that is not in conjunction with whatever we're working on in the marketing. I think we'd have to bounce it off the marketing team, try to understand if that's a good way to spend the money, for example, because I know the council's going to ask that. Council's going to say, why do you guys want to go spend this money? What does the marketing firm think? And so that's the collaboration, that's the collaborative partnership piece that I think Penny's talking about. But I can assure you what's been asked for will have to pass muster to make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction, basically.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
There's a saying that I think we all know, and that saying is design by committee. And my question to everyone, and I'm new, I know I'm boisterous and a rabble rouser a little bit, but this is an honest desire for success. How do we avoid design by committee and lowest common denominator consensus with all these different stakeholders?
You don't, John.
We all have
Otherwise,
different
we wouldn't be hearing
perspectives
from
and
you
all
tonight.
have different tastes and.
Good question.
We don't. I mean, the reality of it is the stakeholders, the steering committee really was to ensure that the group stayed on track, right? And that we brought to the table the people that are going to be most significantly impacted, not just our residents, but our businesses, right? So that we stay on point. I don't think it was, and that's where I think the term steering is. It's not meant to hamper the creative process at all, but it is certainly a contributory process. I mean, all of the committees within Sunset Valley, I've never worked in a community that has this much community participation. So I think this is an expectation. This is the norm in this community.
So it's interesting, and I bet for every one of these experiences I've had, Roger's probably had 4. Even within a single firm, when you're a creative firm, when you are charged with what we're charging them, you can run into this same problem where if you're charged with marketing for IBM, you're going to have all these layers of management that all have different agendas and different opinions, and it's very tough to navigate. One of the ways that in my experience that we give the firm the best possible shot is set them up to pitch and make their case. I have a saying inside our company, like, always be pitching, you're always selling. And it's because I've had enough clients that have multiple stakeholders that they're gonna have to, it's gonna be partly on them to sell their vision if they hopefully arrive at something that they believe in. They're gonna have to sell it to all the stakeholders. But I think I don't know. I don't have any advice. I'm frankly asking for people that, like Sylvia, like you, and anyone else in this conversation right now that has more experience than I do, because I know we don't want to. I know that it's democratic public governance, and so you're going to have a lot of voices, and it's going to be cacophonous. That's in conflict with the clarity that the world-class marketing delivers. It's in conflict with it natively. As a small city, is there any steps we can take to try to mitigate against that inevitability?
Well, I think, well, first of all, this was in the RFP, so it's not a surprise to anybody, and it wasn't a surprise to Ampersand. They said they're accustomed to working with stakeholder committees, and we also had the discussion that it's not going to last forever. Like, we wouldn't expect 3 months of research, and that was a concern for them because they said, we don't farm out our research, we do it internally, and I don't need to spend X amount of dollars or X amount of months to really develop what I believe Sunset Valley is. And so I don't think it's going to be what you believe it's going to be. I mean, I certainly don't anticipate this being a steering committee that's voting on colors or font or those kinds of things. I think it's supposed to stay at a very high level and make sure that the overall goals are being met.
Yeah, this is Roger. I would just say that this would be a nightmare for me to look at this many stakeholders and know that not every one of them are going to be happy, and the ones that aren't are going to be vocal. And so it really is imperative that Ampersand get enough data and enough support through their research for what they do so that they don't argue with a group of people. Now, marketing is one of 3 things everybody thinks they do better than everybody else. And I know that, I mean, that's an absolute. But if I'm saying, here's what I've talked to the market, I've got this information, here's what it says, here's what we're doing to address that, then it's not a matter of a swimsuit contest. Do I like that one or that one or that one? It's a matter of which one best delivers the right message to the right audience in the right way, and based upon the information that's been gathered in this first part. So I would just say that I want to have my say in what these people do, and I want to tell them, I would, Penny, in all due respect, I would not start off this relationship by telling them what we know. They should ask us what we know, and that should be part of their research.
Their research. Okay.
But what we know might not be the most important thing. It's what they find out from dealing with people who are prospective shoppers and are going to fend this is the most important thing. And while we are residents and prospective shoppers, one of the reasons I talked about that idea earlier in the meeting was because I'm not certain that all of our residents have that much loyalty to our merchants. You know, that they don't go down the street to Lowe's instead of Home Depot, or go find a Hobby Lobby instead of going to Michael's. I don't know that. I don't have a way to say yes or no, but we just don't know that. And so, but I do know that we're not enough in unto ourselves to support those shopping centers. So we have to have people from outside our community. But going back to this is that I really think that we get the contract, I think, has been negotiated. I voiced my concern about providing a golden handcuff for Canales and the issues that might come up later. Principally, to Phil's point, you take it in good faith and you assume that won't come up. But if you're legal counsel to it, you have to accommodate everything. So I think it's been negotiated. I think we got to get this thing approved, and I think we got to get going and hold them accountable as we go forward. And because nothing we're saying or doing here tonight is really adding to the process. We just gotta, is this the right contract? We've had our administrator, we've had our lawyer look at it. We've all discussed and discussed. It's clear everybody wants, or a lot of people want to be part of that steering committee and want to have input to the process. And if Ampersam's smart, they'll know that, and they'll provide ways for everybody to provide some input to the process. But we've been months and months trying to get something started, and they desperately need to do the work they need to do up front in order for them to do good work, and in order for us to hold them accountable for that work. I've said this before. If we tell them what to do, if we hire them and then tell them what to do, and it doesn't work, they didn't fail. We did. We got to have them own every bit of this and be accountable and to us for what they're doing. Us meaning the city, not us necessarily the committee. But keep in mind is no matter how many points of view there are on this one committee, when you get it to council, there's that many more points of view.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody on the council is just like everybody else. It's one of three things they think they know better than everybody else. So I think my suggestion, my hope is that we can move on and get this contract submitted for approval and let them get about the work that desperately needs to be done. And hopefully, as they do the work, the market conditions will be favorable to them actually putting the dollars to work at that point in time.
Got a motion, Roger?
Yes. Let's get a motion on the floor. Okay, we've got a motion to approve.
I move to recommend that the contract be signed.
Okay, can I have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. And hear me, or am I blocked?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Who was the second?
John was the second. Roger was the first. John was the second. Discussion? I hear no discussion. Okay, would you repeat that motion? Matt, you want to read it?
Sure, it's just a motion to recommend approval of the contract, I guess, as is to the city council.
Okay, can we add to it for their approval on August 4th? Because that's the date that they're going to be reviewing it. Is that a friendly motion amendment? Can we add that? Roger, can you accept that?
Sure.
Second, you're good? Okay.
Yep.
We now have it. Okay, very good. Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor, a second, a friendly amendment to approve the contract with ampersand as it is written with all our questions answered. And let's take, I call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is a huge piece, and I appreciate all the hard work that everyone has done as we've been going through this. And you know, what I think is a kind of an interesting piece is that with all of the different ideas, with all the different levels of experience, be it life, be it experience in a particular field, we all come to it with different perspectives, but we can work together and we can move forward. So thank you very much. That's a good thing. At that point, then, I would like very much to be able to say, let's adjourn our meeting. We will probably be doing the council meeting is August the 4th. After council, I'd like us to have a meeting, and I will be meeting in the meantime with the mayor and trying to figure out what pieces do we need to be putting into place to help her out. And we will look at with the contract if there's things that we want to add to it as they go down the road. That's another part. But we will meet probably and I don't call it an emergency meeting, but a kind of a quick kickoff meeting for the contract stuff. Any questions? If not, then let's adjourn the meeting. It's 8:05. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Okay, Sandy. Roger, second. Is that what I heard? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Yes.
Okay, got a motion, a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? John, do you want to stay on and talk some more? You can stay. That sounds. Okay, thank you everybody for everything.
Thank you, Penny.
Well, thank you all. We've made
Thank
great
you
strides.
all.
Well, everybody's worked very hard, so thank you so much. And let's go into 2021, 2020, 2021 and get things going. How's that sound? Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll catch back up with you later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.